everybody. How you doing? This is Clinton Bonner from
Because those
TopCoder.
solar panels are so large, because of where our
academics as well, consulting firms, vendors who want to understand sort of
surface
neutral
tension
way.
experiments.
Hey everybody, welcome. Clinton Bonner from TopCoder and Cloud Spokes. Welcome to another edition of TopCoder Interviews. We're joined today by an enigmatic gentleman. His name is Mike Martocha. He happens to be Director of Strategic Innovation at Brivo Labs. He's also quite an awesome dude. Mike, I believe you are just simply at Martocha on Twitter. Is that correct?
Real close, Clint. It's actually at M. Martocha.
Okay.
There
we go. There we go. At M Martocha. We'll throw a nice little lower third there so people could type it in and follow. Great follow. Always talking all things crowdsourcing, Digital 3.0, Internet of Things, and just a real knowledgeable guy out there. So say hello to Mike while he's on the Twitter sphere. So today we're sitting down again with Mike from Brivo Labs. So if you don't know Brivo Labs, you got to go check this company out. They describe themselves, which I think is pretty cool, as, as a leading emerging social access management group within the greater Internet of Things. So again, I know what that means because I know what Internet of Things is. I know what social access management means. But to somebody who's just coming to Brivo Labs for the first time, can you quickly explain what problem exists and how do you guys fix it?
Well, absolutely. In fact, let me start off with just saying, what we want to do here at Brivo Labs is just simply enhance the everyday experiences of just going into places. The way that we're doing this today is making products and providing services that allow you to interact with the physical buildings and devices using, your social identity. So one thing we want to do is we don't feel like we're going to be replacing keys. So we may be replacing those physical keys. We're going to be creating digital keys that can just really enhance the experiences that people have today with buildings and more or less their things, their devices, their cars, their homes, everything more or less associated with that.
Very cool. So I think an example to kind of round out what that means for somebody, like what a typical user experience might be for somebody using a Brivo Labs technology and application. Can you walk us through a brief example of something that a user might experience?
Oh yeah, absolutely. One example I think we can kind of talk about now. This is a little early. We're really debuting it come Dreamforce that's happening in the next 2 weeks, the 17th. It's called Rendezvous, and it's an application that's designed to replace the clipboard you would most likely have within an office or a building that you would go visit, like a corporation, for example. Everybody's very familiar with those white clipboards. You sign your name, tell you who you're visiting, what time you're in, what time you're out, the company you're working for. What we decided to do is really automate that process, integrate it with Salesforce, and make it super easy, not only for the customer or the client, more so for the client to send out these invitations or these tokens to the people who are going to be coming to visit them at the office. So when they arrive, they simply scan these tokens. The individual who sent the request out to that person will get a notification that their guests have arrived. And then we can start building off of all sorts of automation type functions, such as, hey, your guests are here, you're going to be using this conference room, let's go ahead and turn on the lights, let's turn on the AC, let's warm up the projector, all those various things. And on top of that, the individual who's being received, meaning the person who received these tokens, the guests, they can then get all sorts of information about the building, who they're seeing, etc. So it just allows for the building to be a central point of social or a way for that to talk back to people.
Very cool. So who's kind of early adopters and seeing it right away and kind of licking their chops going, yeah, I get this full on. And then, so where is that currently? And then who do you think is the next shoe to drop from an industry or vertical wise where you believe they're really going to take this on and love the type of offering you're bringing to market?
I think the medium-sized businesses are actually going to love this. More sales-focused type industries right now are going to love it. It's the ability for people to be captured as a lead kind of generation. It also allows you to know who's in fact inside your building when they leave. Those are going to be the initial hotbeds. I think what we're seeing with Apple and MLB, as well as where we're headed, is more or less focused on venues and what we can do with stadiums and movie theaters, much in the same way. Fandango and creating these virtual tickets, you still need to go into a kiosk and have those printed out. Now, that whole process can be more or less removed when it's in fact a digital key. And when you're at the building, certain things can certain trigger off that can make that experience for the customer a lot better. But not only that, Fandango just lets you know you purchased the ticket. It never really says that you were there in your seat. The future of these things, you're going to say, I'm in this seat in this theater location. And that's going to be rich forms of data that can be mined, leveraged, and used in all sorts of fun and exciting ways.
Fully get that, and I can envision the experiences being changed as you're entering something like a large arena or something like that, right? And all the things that you can then cater to that individual. It's very, very exciting stuff. So it's very, very cool stuff. We've all waited in egregious lines and just sat there going, "There's got to be a better way." Right? So
absolutely, lines suck. And there's a blog post we just recently put out about the top 10 worst places to actually experience lines. You should definitely check it out. But yeah, we're looking at ways that we can kind of reduce that need to actually have lines, because it's more or less progressing through a gate. And if there's a way that we can know that they're there, or that these people have access or no access, the lines tends to get shorter, or we can now better a point where people are going in. For example, like a large venue, when people know that they're standing in line in one location, wouldn't it be great to say, hey, 30 feet around the corner is another line that just opened up that you can now be provisioned access to.
Right.
And the building being social in that way can help kind of derive and pull that type of information and make those things happen.
Very cool, very cool. So something that kind of often happens in technology is that when things get easier, they sometimes tend to get less safe. Now, you guys are in the security company and security industry greater, holistically on top of everything here, like letting people in and out of buildings with social access. So how can you speak to that, in a fairly quick manner that says, well, I'll let you answer, but what happens when you say, okay, you're getting all this ease of access, but what happens to actual safety in your industry?
Safety in our industry. So we've got a couple of things that we actually look at. There's something that's called hardened access. This is a life and death scenario where the individuals who have credentials to get into a building must be known, it must be cleared, and this provisions the access, to and from. Now, when we're talking about soft access, like it's okay if somebody was to get into a movie theater that may have not had access to it. It's not a life and death scenario. So there's really some strong delineation between those two markets. Now, Brivo Labs is really focused on the soft market side and creating those solutions within that space. But the neat thing is that we can actually go through and increase and scale that magnitude of security. Brivo Systems has been in the industry for 10 years. It's really focused on that hardened access. So we've got a lot of the experience necessary to cover both bases and come up with solutions that are going to be very, strong with market ready.
So let's kind of change the pace a bit, or look a little bit at the technology here, because again, this is going to go out on the TopCoder blog. We're doing this for Cloud Spokes and TopCoder to share with our community and then share more broadly. So they're going to want to talk a bit of technology. So when you're building out the technology and choosing your platforms, how did you guys go about this, and what led you down those paths? And can you talk in some specifics about what platforms gave you what types of benefits and why?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, one thing we're actually looking to build right now, well, we're building it. It's not looking to build, but we wanted to build in something that was going to be very developer friendly. We wanted to also provide the ability to kind of scale our systems as needed efficiently and quickly. And not only that, but to make it easy to do so. We wanted also a marketplace that allowed for us to more or less provision these databases and other services very efficiently as well. And, when I started looking at these various systems and matching that with the crowd's capabilities, it made no better sense than to move into like a Heroku environment and start developing our applications using Node.js. It's a low barrier for the team and community developers to learn. They're already proficient in it. It's very efficient. And not only that, it makes better use of the Heroku dynos that allow for us to scale.
Very cool. So, we're talking some of the cloud platforms you guys are engaging to scale this and move with a greater velocity. The other piece of it too, which some out there, or I guess many out there wouldn't know quite yet, is that you guys are leveraging crowdsourcing in a pretty innovative manner too. So can you talk about the technology cloud stack and then pair that with how Brivo Labs is using crowdsourcing to kind of gain that velocity?
Absolutely. So we're leveraging a lot of different cloud services. Not only are we using Heroku as being one of the actual platforms, Node.js as being part of that technology stack, but we're also leveraging Salesforce.com. We're using Chatter.com. A lot of the Salesforce tools initially for our go-to-market release for Rendezvous, which will be our visitor management solution. We made those decisions because of the proficiency of the crowd and what they know and how they can help us build these solutions to bring to market. Fantastic in this way. And not only that, but the proficiency of the crowd, when we went to more or less start the competitions with them, they responded great. They had some fantastic ideas on how they can go about and solve some of the challenges that we more or less experience today. They came up with some pretty novel ways on how we can address some of the functionalities within Salesforce. It was very clean. It was very simple on how they more or less produce these results. They've been fantastic all the way through. So we've leveraged cloud spokes primarily from a Heroku Salesforce standpoint initially. And we've been migrating some of these services over to the TopCoder community, such as the website design, top to bottom in a WordPress environment. We started off with an HTML5 and then moved that into a WordPress template so we can make that easier within our marketing group to go through and create content. And then we've also been creating a ton of fun apps. Working on an application right now for Google Glasses where we can more or less provision access to and from doors. And then we're looking at the other wearables market, such as, the Pebble Watch and how we can leverage these types of devices to start provisioning keys. And these are all the fun things that we're looking to more or less do development with, both in the Cloud Spokes and TopCoder communities.
Very cool. So, sounds like the next, in your opinion, next 2 to 5 years is it going to? Will there be a nice rotation that pairs with mobile and then feeds into much more of the wearable future? Is that what you guys are kind of seeing and banking on a bit?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we're seeing the mobile market really kind of become a very pivotal player in this point, or in this market. It's not just the mobile device, because most people always have it. It's that secondary device that's being used to kind of allow for that passive access into these things. The NFC ring that was just recently started off on Kickstarter is another loop into that wearables type market as well. So we do see that wearable market as being pretty important within the access control scene here.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much, Mike. Obviously, again, we'll throw it back to the folks out there and say, hey, listen, he's a great follow on Twitter at @mmartocia. And again, we'll lower third that for everybody so you can see where it is. And if you got out of Dreamforce, Dreamforce 2013, obviously Brivo Labs will be there as well. Check them out on brivolabs.com. It's again, the Internet of Things 3.0, devices talking to devices to make human experiences better. And these guys are right at the cusp and actually creating the cusp, building out the barges on top of it to make new bridges over and doing a sensational job.